All right. Well, hello everyone on this Tuesday afternoon. Half the time I don't even know what day it is, so actually I think I got that right. Tuesday. So welcome back again to Growing Up Alien. And today, a week later, we have Joanna coming to share her story with us. Just like all of you guys, we're all contactees and we've all had these experiences. And all the gatekeepers don't want us to talk, but that's why I have this channel because everybody's talking on this channel, and you
Yeah.
can say whatever you want. So you might be familiar. I mean, the name Joanna sounds familiar to some of you because we've put up some gorgeous video that she's taken, and also had video from her friends who we've also put up of craft. So it's always nice to have the right kind of camera equipment where you can take that kind of stuff and share it with people. So this is brilliant. So Joanna, I want to open it up. Of course, thanking you for coming on today and sharing your story. But you had quite a childhood experience,
Yeah,
and we might as well just start there for linearity. So
absolutely. It goes back. Probably my first memory is at 2 because I was still in my crib because I can remember looking through the slats of the crib, and I would get visitations. They would come into my room. Um, I don't remember all of it. I was never afraid for some reason. They never frightened me. So I don't know if that's because maybe we had developed some kind of a rapport by that time, or maybe just a 2-year-old didn't know better. But I mean, I can tell stories of, them coming into my room through the closet, which was now I understand was a portal or, teleport that they used to come into my room, was a closet. And I can remember being probably about 5 or 6, and I had 2 of them come in. And it was crazy because they were pleading case to me. Like they were on opposite ends of a particular subject, and they were pleading their case to me like this 5-year-old would know what to do about that. To this day, I'm not really sure where that comes from, like why that happened, unless it's, has to do with past lives or something about that nature. But I was never, I don't remember ever being afraid. It was just kind of they'd come in and it was just like a normal occurrence. I told my mother about it as a young child, and she never was shocked, which was weird for me. Like there was never a hesitation or like a, you know. And I remember telling her about, these 2 beings coming in, and this one wanted me to consider this. This wanted me to consider this, as I grew up, what path I wanted to go. And she just looked at me. She goes, "Always choose the light." And that's what she said. No shock, didn't blink an eye. Always choose the light. And later on, understanding that she was with the government, my entire life, don't really know all that she probably has seen, but my father was in the Air Force as his father and his father, and he would talk about contact that he had as well, in the oil fields when he was working, or just as a child himself. And so he was also just a really big believer, and so it was never something that was odd in my family.
now the beings that came, what were they?
Grace.
They were
They were
benevolent.
grays. The ones in the slats that I would see were definitely grays. Um, the ones in my closet, I don't like. I can see a cloak, but I can't see their faces. I
Interesting.
haven't had any kind of like a regression or anything like that, so that I can. And I don't know if I will. I don't know if I want to remember all of that, but I'm going to say mainly gray. I would think
You
mainly
experienced
grays.
benevolent grays?
I was never afraid. I was
Yeah.
never afraid. I was never in fear. They never did anything, to that I can remember, to hurt me or anything like that. Just I'm not I'm not even sure why they did. I'm sure maybe it was just one of those things. They're following a bloodline or a family line, or my mom, my dad on a, because if
Well,
they've all had
yeah,
contact,
I
then
think
I'm sure that's what it was, tracking
it's
families.
military connection because the military was working with benevolent grays as well as the other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
And I'm not sure. I know that I also have a family history of Freemasonry,
yeah.
which is, a whole other subject. But my great grandfather was pretty high up into that, 32nd, something like that, pretty high up. And so I don't know if any of that's connected, to be honest with you. But I never was afraid. They would come. I did have some that would come to school with me because I was kind of a shyer kid,
Yeah.
and wasn't sure if these were not grays. So I'm not sure if this was my guides that I could see, or just my spirit. I'm not sure they're my team, but they were with me and they would sit with me in class, or especially like if I had to like finish work, everybody else was out, they'd sit around with me and we would talk, until I was probably in about fifth grade. And they were like, okay, Joanna, we can't just keep keeping you company because you're not getting out there and meeting other people. And so that's when my contact with them stopped, where I could visually see them.
Now these were humans.
They looked human. Yeah. I mean, there weren't any. Yeah.
Do you remember what they wore?
No, no. The only contact that I had where I could give you a more detailed description um, was when I had another contact when I was in my early 20s, is when it started again. Okay. And that was with a particular starman that would come, and we had some communication, and mainly we would communicate on the astral, which was kind of, something I've always, have memories of, like being able to see my body on the bed and, just it. Yeah. And so he was, what I remember, I think when we talked the other day, he was probably about 8 or 9 feet. He
Oh,
was a big, big, big human.
yeah.
um, Long dark hair, and he would carry me, like he would scoop me up, like he hadn't seen me, like kind of scooping me up, to give me a hug. I felt like a child, because that was the size. He was so big. But he's the one that I've had, the most recent communication with, and it's always very sweet, nothing ever frightening.
Oh, yeah, of course, right. Definitely for sure.
Hmm.
Well, one of the
So,
things I always like to tell folks because they shifted the plan. So you had during your like Howard Menger and all those times, Adamski and Meyer, the contact that was in person. So that actually
right.
bombed was and it was ended up being very dangerous for people.
Yeah.
So they switched to the astral contact for a couple of reasons. So I was told that one, it's because we at this time were able to like process that a lot better.
Hmm.
And I think the fact that they generally tended to come to kids to initiate a lot of this contact, because well, with the envoys, walk-ins as well, that's they would come to you as a child because that was just begin the process.
Yes.
So the astral is not less than the physical contact, which I think a lot of people feel odd about, because there's a lot of, and I don't understand the point of some of these people other than because they have unbelievable egos, that they think because they have physical contact that they're somehow better than people who have astral contact. That is not correct.
No, not at all. I mean, the astral contact, I mean, that's, you feel things more intensely, feelings, telepathy, you know, really understanding what that other person is trying to communicate with you, because words are not getting into the way. It's just a free flowing understanding conversation. I would prefer that to anything. It's
That
more real to me,
yeah,
honestly.
that's
Yeah.
just what they
And it
decided
was
to do.
very real.
Yeah, and it was it was a kind of a last ditch effort, and it worked.
Yeah.
So there's massive, and of course there's massive astral contact. It's just that people tend not to, now people are coming forward. I mean, I tell people, and we
Mhm.
were just talking about this before, that please don't rely on these military whistleblowers who basically most of them are working under MK Ultra.
Right.
Please don't wait for these military whistleblowers. They're not the whistleblowers you think they are. We are that is your job here. We
Yeah.
are the whistleblowers. We are the ones, many of us have been in MK Ultra and all that crap too, but it's us coming forward that's going to shift this.
Absolutely. I mean, that's just the way it's going to have to be. And
Yeah.
not to discount the stories they tell. I mean,
They're not, they're
they
telling the
have
truth.
maybe they have permission, to share a couple of little, occurrences that they had. But do you really think that these people with the three-letter agencies that are whistleblowers wouldn't, how long do you think they would live,
Exactly.
honestly,
Exactly.
if they didn't have the permission or go ahead from said agency? It's like, there's no way.
They were groomed.
Right.
They pick out certain people that they groom. And they do this to
Yeah.
all the military. I mean, it isn't like, I mean, the military is ground zero for all of the weird my lab experiments.
Hmm.
And they're victims.
Yeah.
These people are all they're all victims of this catastrophic manipulation psyop. It's sad.
It is sad. And I don't know if that's their way of trying to do soft disclosure, like having
Yeah.
um, little bits and pieces fed to us, in small amounts. But yeah, that's not going to work. Things are moving too fast. I feel like things are moving too fast right now. That's just not going to, no, catastrophic.
That's why they're doing it because they want to control the narrative.
Of course, I mean, and I can understand why. I mean,
At the end,
they're
it's
not going to
going
look
to
so
not.
great. They're not going to look so great,
No,
if it comes out catastrophic.
it's going to be
I get it.
talking about that before. Like, how can it not be catastrophic?
It has to be at this point. It has to be. We don't have another 150, 200 years to wait.
Oh my God.
Um, I
These,
mean, come on. Too many of us know already. We're like, come on, this is dumb.
yeah, it's
Come on,
dumb.
y'all.
I mean, it's just, yeah, and the information's everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so excited about just what life will be like once disclosure is made. Do I think it's going to be perfect? No. But wow, would I love to just sit down and have conversations or have classes taught or, learn different modalities of self-healing,
Oh yeah.
energy work. There's so many things that those of us on our spiritual journey are ready for, the next level. Do you
Oh,
know what I mean? Just
oh,
I'm ready. And just quality of life issues all over the
oh,
planet. I mean, the thought that we could have clean air, clean water, clean energy, our oceans, have the pollution taken out in what, a week or two? Is that what they had said?
yeah, they'll
Something
be
like,
able. They'll just terraform the whole system.
I mean, who's not ready for that? It's just,
People are. I think it's just. Well, you know who's not ready for it.
yeah, I do.
This
I
is
do.
this is where people I think have to. This is where I'm like, that's where my use your own thinking processes, your cognitive ability. Do you really think the enemy, which is the enemy is the governments, the enemy is big pharma, the enemy is all the power brokers, the industrial military complex, the aerospace industry, all of your think tanks. We can go on and on. The education system, like every single thing on this planet, every
Yeah.
multi-trillion dollar, I mean, it's just unbelievable amounts of money.
Mhm.
These people don't want to collapse they're not going to collapse their own system. They're going to do everything in their power.
Oh, they're going to go down fighting
They're going to go
for
down.
sure, for as
Yeah.
long as they can. That's why it's got to be catastrophic. There has to be nowhere they can go at this point. They can't talk their way out of it.
I
It's going to
think
have to be forced.
they're going to try to kill a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. Well, they've been doing that all
They've been
along.
doing it right. And it's just like, why are we allowing that? I don't know. Like I said, it's
I
just,
know.
I just doesn't, it just doesn't make any, I can't see how you can possibly trickle this stuff out and
You
not
can't.
have catastrophic disclosure happen. I mean, you're not going to roll out a med bed and be like, "Oh, look at this. We just created this in our laboratories." Woo!
People
Who's
would believe
gonna
it.
buy that?
Some people would
Like,
believe it.
do they real? I see all these like ET people on their YouTube channels. Well, they're going to trickle it in and like just be like, "Oh, look at this anti-gravity car I just made." And do you really think your average person is going to be like, "Ooh," they're going to be like, "Come on."
I would hope so. I would
They're
hope
going to
so.
be so suspicious of that crap. I mean, you're going to go from like Stone Age tech to like quantum
I
in
know.
like a week, and no one's going to see the difference.
My mom said before she died, she was born in the late 20s. And so she has stories of, being, they were poor. So either they would walk everywhere. They had horses,
Yeah.
once in a while, somebody in the neighborhood would have a car, but not very often. But she went from that to seeing people go to space. I mean, and that was just within like 60 years, maybe not even that, 20, 40 years,
Yeah.
from the 30s to the 60s. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, how does that happen? Just by coincidence?
But it would, yeah, no. it's all the trickle down information the deep state wanted us to know. Because they were already anti-gravity. The Nazis were anti-gravity.
Right, right. It's anything they can make money on.
Of course.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
I mean,
any technology that they can make money on, they're gonna let us have.
yeah.
So that's the way I'm seeing it. I'm very disillusioned.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we all are. I mean, it's everybody's just like, come on, it's just, and the ETs are too, from your man.
Hmm.
And has he ever mentioned anything to you about the work that he does and
Just that he is more of a special ops force as far as ground troop, like going into certain circumstances that might be a little bit darker,
okay.
for others. So, I he hasn't gone into he never went into detail. It was just like the psychic impression he gave me, kind of like when he had come to visit me. I don't think he was supposed to have done that.
Oh,
He
sometimes,
had
yeah.
a few of his Yeah, he had a few of his men with him that were, around us as well, kind of working with him. But I think I'm not sure why, but for some reason, I was just kind of like, wait, we got to real quick go this way, and I got to have this communication before we go on and do anything else. So,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure. I
That's
don't
the
know the
yeah.
details. And I don't know if I want to know the details. I mean, I know what's out there. I know what these dumbs have in them. I know, and it hurt. I have 4 children. This hurts my mother's heart, and I just, yeah, I can imagine.
Oh,
You know,
it's nuts. Yeah.
it's disgusting. I mean, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. Um, I'm hoping with this celebrity big case that's all over the news, as I hope that busts a lot of this open. I hope that a lot of things are revealed. Don't know if they will be, but I'm hoping at least people will know that, at some level, this is actually happening, you
Yeah.
know?
But I mean, it's already been revealed. It's just that people don't believe the truth. That's the
Yeah.
thing. It's like they just don't believe, that's, some of the questions that we've often asked is why are the media still up?
The media, I don't even watch the news anymore.
I don't either, but why is it even still? And I think maybe that was one of my theories that just, I popped up with, like, was that maybe because no one watches it anymore, they figure, well, it'll just burn itself out.
Yeah.
That's what they maybe think, I don't know. So
I
yeah,
mean, I just don't bother with it. None of it's true.
yeah.
Maybe the weather.
The weather. I watch the Weather Channel, even that's deep state. It's
Yeah.
just it,
Right.
it, it's unbelievable. It's
Yep. We're just kind of in a holding pattern at this point, just waiting. At least that's how I feel. Just waiting for something so I can
no, it's
do my part.
God, it's just one of the questions I want to ask you. So what military base did your parents work out of?
I think it was Carson.
Carson, okay, yeah.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah, I think, I've noticed from a lot of people that the sightings as well as the contact experiences tend to be around
Hmm.
military families. Like my father was in the military.
Yeah.
So it seems to have some kind of connection with that for sure. I have a
Yeah.
friend in England, her father saw ETs.
Oh, I believe it. I think a lot of military, especially the Air Force, those
Yeah.
that are up in the skies,
Oh yeah.
which my family had all been, yeah, absolutely. They saw.
Well, they're working with them. They see them on the bases. And I mean like the grays, not like the humanoid types, which of course they're
Hmm.
there. But yeah, her father saw them. He said, I saw them on the base. The
That's
gray.
aw- that's awesome. I hope. I mean, I hope they were benevolent.
It's mixed. I think that's actually was part of the interaction because you had some benevolence.
Hmm.
Also, you had your very negative types as well. And I
Yes.
think that was a big mix because I used to think that, well, my father always told me the Navy's no good.
Okay.
Never liked the Navy. So I mean, it was a quirky thing he had, he just didn't like the Navy because I didn't get him. Like, why is the Navy bad? Because he was Air Force and Army. And then, you know, later, it's interesting because now knowing what I experienced with the Navy's Solar Warden and what other
Yeah.
people had experienced with Solar Warden, these guys were not any good. And not that they all were. It's just like like puzzle pieces all popping together of like negative and positive people all layered up in these programs.
Right. Right. I mean, just like everybody, there's always going to be your
Yeah,
negatives, humans, positive, it's just,
yeah.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Even the air, I've talked to people in aerospace and retirees because they're
Yeah,
retired during hot time. And they all totally, I mean, they can't wait to talk to me. And they're all like,
I
oh,
bet.
they're like, I tell you, it's weird, because they know. Because and they're like, it's so compartmentalized. So you have like this regular guy who worked in aerospace who never saw anything.
Right.
Because there was stuff going on that you had no, everything was so, as they said with the and the Majestic 12, we're going to hide it from the government itself, and they did. They actually hid it from themselves. People would be
Yeah.
walking, going into work and walking out, getting mind wiped.
Wow.
What did I do at work today? Or they were given other. Today you were designing something, and you were probably working on some. And but what they placed into your head was, oh, I'm designing something. There's people.
Yeah.
And there's people who worked Area 51 that worked on Mars every day. They'd park in the parking lot and then go through a jump room onto Mars and then go out parking lot, drive home.
Yeah. They probably have some screen memories of,
Yeah, they do.
whatever it is that they
Yeah.
think that they did that day. I mean, yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's just it's hard to it's just really the layers of this
Oh,
are
it's a lot. It's a lot. And, I try to watch a lot of the channels of some of the other people talking about, disclosure, their experiences, because I feel like that's the only place I'm going to really get some good
yeah,
information,
I listen
some
to
real
people.
things.
Right. Yeah.
And some of them, I always have to discern, take it with, what they say to, does it resonate with me? Does it not? Sometimes, it does. Sometimes I'm like, maybe not. But I have been, listening to them talk about these space arcs.
Oh
What
yes,
is your I mean, if this is true
they're
and these
true.
space arcs are turning on
Yeah.
after hundreds of thousands of
Yeah,
years,
I have friends who are going to be working on them.
that's exciting.
They've already seen
Hmm.
them. I can't go into it more, and I tell them not to talk about it. Because
Oh, okay.
bad guys want access to. In fact, even myself, I'm not sure it's a space arc, but I'm part of it's a tech that we're gonna retrieve.
That's wonderful.
So we
Yeah,
can't get into a lot of, and one of my friends is part of this team. So the deep state would kill us. So
of course. Yeah. I
in
mean, all in time.
yeah, there's lots, and I think that's the point I want to make out because I can't tell you how many people here are probably watching our show or we're on those shows, and they're like, they've been on those arcs.
Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine.
They've seen
And
them. They've been given instructions. I know people who've been given instructions. They're like, and they're
exciting.
the ETs are so funny. They're like, you need to do blah blah blah. They're like, oh, it's like you're gonna go
That's
here.
exciting.
That's it. Like, okay. It's like, yeah. There's quite a few of them, and they've been given. Some of the people have already been given coordinates, and yeah, it's real.
Oh, 100%. Have they said anything about when this is going to be coming out or
Nobody,
the
even the
progression?
no, I have no idea.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm actually one of the people, and I have no idea.
Man, just waiting for upstairs, I guess.
Wait, and it's I think it has a lot to do with the deep state. I really do. I just think it's like I try to tap because you get so angry, and everybody's
Yeah.
running upstairs and just cussing. What's going
Hmm.
on? We can't take it. Everybody's screaming, and you're like, and the ETs are doing the same thing. They're all. I know. Ika's like just doing. They've cleaned out pretty much everything where his group has. I don't know. What other people are doing, but it's like he's pretty much just. I know what he's. I know the work that he's doing now is teaching them the technology
Right.
or arranging for other ETs because there's tons of ETs working in tech, and we're gonna have a guest coming on actually this week who met one. There's
Oh, wow.
oh yeah, they're all over the place. They're working in the medical. Well, they look like people. They're working in the medical industry. They're working in the computer stuff. They're also working with the aerospace, the think tanks, and they've been for a while. So a lot of times they'll meet, people come forward and say, I met this very interesting young looking person. and their skin looks different and their eyes are like, whoa, and there's just something funny. And they're
Hmm.
really friendly, which is the funny part. Like that's what gets you.
Yes.
Their bubbly personality, because you're like, what the hell is wrong with you? You don't even know it's
Yeah. Their energy, you can feel it. It's
yeah,
tangible.
and it's like it just stops you dead, and you're like, who the hell are you? It's like that. Everybody's such an animal. But don't get me started on people. But I have, yeah, she actually was telepathing with them.
Yeah. I mean, that's how most of them communicate.
Yeah,
I mean,
but he
everybody but us. but,
he felt
but
comfortable enough
Terrence,
to do that because so he knew that she would be able to pick it up on that. So there's a great story. We always have Frank Chili on, but Frank has seen these people as well. He says their eyes, yeah, their eyes are crazy. And he had a great story Frank is an archivist. Frank Chili is an archivist, and that's
mhm,
his role here. He's a Venusian. He's a Venusian walking. And they actually rigged his body and his voice and everything to be able to do his job, and he rocked it, even though he won't admit
that's
it.
awesome. That's
He's rock
cool.
and rolling it. And I mean, Frank Chili met Albert Coe. I mean, he met some of he's talked with Major Filer. He's talked with Commander Bethune. I mean, he's talked with, like, this is where a lot of my information as far as the human's concerned is from Frank, because he's a firsthand account. Well, Frank
Yeah.
Chili, what he's most famous for, and I try to tell people, it's like, wow, Frank Chili interviewed William Mills Tompkins. Frank Chili
Oh,
was friends with Dr. Wood.
that's neat. Okay. Yeah. That's
Michael
cool.
Salla edited the third book with William Mills Tompkins, but Frank Chili was the one who initiated, like, and he knows he wasn't the only one else. The Doctor would initiate the first contact with all the
Hmm.
background, but Frank has hours of down dozens of hours of interviews, and Frank is in that book.
That's cool.
And
That's
it's
really neat.
this is the thing I always say, and I know Frank doesn't care, but it's like, Frank, all of these people with the huge channels never interview you.
That's, yeah. I wonder why. They don't know about him.
Oh, they know about him. You can't edit his book and not see Frank Chili.
There's so many people out there I would love for someone to interview, that have the real information, the real
We
experience.
have him on here, Frank. I mean, he's on here all the time, and he's like totally real deal.
That's awesome.
The evidence. I mean, not only does is he, I have the evidence. Major Filer is still living. He knows Frank. I mean, it's like Colonel Ware, who told Frank. He says we're 1,500 years in the future.
Ah,
Like, we are Pleiadian. The
yeah,
technology right now of the Terran,
yeah,
right now, like tomorrow, if they would ever stop lying to us, is Pleiadian level.
100%. 100%. And I really feel like when we do have that first contact, the Pleiadians will be the first ones in, because
But you've already had it, and that's what people like. What's you've
I
already
have, yeah.
We've had contact. We are, and most people listening to this are have had contact too.
Right.
You are contact, and Louise is suspecting, which I'm it's been going on. It's already happening. I mean, they're already living amongst us.
Yes, they are. They are.
You
And they
know,
can.
yeah, they can, of course, absolutely.
I
They even
mean,
come off the ship. So Shola, she's a Pleiadian. She works for GFW. She says we come off the ships, come down, and then go back up.
they
So
can walk amongst us. And I'm sure that they,
absolutely.
do, experience, I mean, how else are they going to learn about us? Or,
Well,
if they're not walking around,
that was your
studying.
job. Yeah, I mean that was our job actually. We're operatives. I was a spy,
Yeah.
so that's how we did. I would, that's what I did. I was, that's what we went all. We were all undercover right now. All of the
Yeah.
ground.
And it makes sense. I know you're the walk-in, and for some reason, I chose to actually incarnate into a human body. And I don't know, maybe I wanted to experience what it was like. And it's, I
I
get
don't.
it.
There's not a lot of. I mean, there really isn't a lot of difference because it's just a consciousness.
Right. And
So
that's the neat part.
what's the difference between a walk-in and a envoy? Really none. Because
No.
because there are envoys who remember being born.
Yes.
So I mean the different. I don't think they're really. It's more of a mincing words of, like, like we both go to New York City. You take a plane and I take the bus. I mean, it's really
Right.
what's the
We, yes, we got here. That's the important
right.
part. And
And
I
the
know that,
jobs are the same.
yeah. And I'm here for first contact. I have an education background, I have a social work background. I took some psychology classes in university, so I already know what my role is here. And so now I'm just
But
waiting. I mean, I talk to people who are open minded. We have discussions, so it begins there. But I think I will be a great help to those who are having a hard time when it
yeah,
does come out, to calm them, to ease their fears. So, I mean, I think that that's the role that I took on for this incarnation, just
that's
specifically for that. Yeah.
well, I can feel, it's an energy vibe. You give off that. You just naturally do. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah,
I,
I'm just going to try to keep biding my time and keep talking, and people could look at me like I'm crazy. And, but there's
it,
that one that won't, though. There's that one that won't.
it's
And there's
all
that
it
one
is.
that you'll open their mind and then they'll start, looking for themselves, and things like that. So
You just plant
that's a win.
yeah, you just plant the seed of kind of peeling back the brainwashing. We've all been brainwashed.
Yeah,
Well, like we were just
absolutely.
mentioning, it's like think about like what you when we were in school, which is what get people have to read that Weapons of Mass Instruction by John Taylor Gatto. Because this is not like it's not a conspiracy theory book. He actually did scholarly research
Hmm.
delineating the psyop that education systems were intended by the Rockefellers. I mean, it's the information, it's like it's real. So
Yes.
think about when we were in school, like you were praised for memorizing and spitting back information and not thinking for yourself.
Yep.
you know, believing the fact that an amoeba turned into a fish that turned into a giraffe. And you believe it.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, look at the science I know, right? And you're like, look at me, like
Yeah, that never set well with me, honestly. And I can honestly remember being in school, and the teacher that was teaching or was going to instruct the Darwin theory
yep,
actually said, I don't believe this. This is not what I think happened, but this is what we're going to talk about. This is what the lesson
of
is.
course.
And
Yeah.
I, looking back, thought, wow, that was pretty gutsy,
Yeah,
for her to be like, this is not real, but we're going to talk about it. Because why? Because she was instructed, because she had to. That was the rules,
that was the
you
rules.
know?
People don't even realize, because I'm a revisionist historian, but Darwin was bullshit. Darwin was a deep stater. He was involved with the monarchy. There were other researchers at that time that were basically thrown on, and that's what we've been doing for forever, where people who inquired or people who tried to do something or tried to question the main story that they were trying to force feed the public, they were all silenced. Their careers were
Yes.
ruined. That's what they did for forever.
And
That's
I don't know, looking back, you can see it so clearly
great.
now,
No, it's
you
just
know?
like, well, Tesla. Everybody knows Tesla. The guy died.
Yes.
They just try to trash that guy, and it's like if he had nothing going on, why did the government take all his work?
And they took it and classified it, stole it.
Right.
So I think a lot of the things that are going on now with reverse or creating new, technology comes from him. He was such an amazing, amazing person. What he could have taught the world, what we could have learned from him.
Well,
He was a
yeah,
walk-in too.
a bunch of us was told by a DARPA operative. And this
Hmm.
guy works for DARPA, not out of his own, he was forced to. They make you an offer. That's the thing. Like all these whistleblowers that you see, they're
Yep.
bad people. They're not liars. They did all these things they said they did.
Right.
They're given, it's a mafia. They're given an offer they can't refuse.
Yes,
So, it's really scary.
it
And
is.
this guy ended up working for DARPA because of that. I mean, he's the real deal, but he's like, all we have to do is put up Tesla towers in strategic locations, like around the globe, and and you turn them on, it's going to terraform the earth. That's all it's going to take.
That is incredible. That is incredible. My gosh. You know, gosh, Nikola Tesla, it is said that actually had, being a walk-in, but he actually had another entity with him that would also help him or remind him or feed, help him discover these technologies and things
Yeah.
like that. That's all of these things are so fascinating, you know.
It's just crazy. I mean, we Frank Chili knew a guy when he was in California, and I think, yeah, I'm 100% sure that It's on Linda's channel's Potential, but she also put it on Growing Up Alien too, and it has to do. And I know a lot of people don't watch it because they don't think it's interesting, but this is suppressed technology. There was this man out in California, and he was in contact. I believe they were Venusian, and one of the women came down and gave him a device.
Yeah.
And he told the man, he says, "Look, you build this device. This will, without harming the animals, get rid of all the pests that you have. It's a frequency device." The whole show, Frank explains it perfectly. She says, so the guy started making them. And this is what they've been trying to do. They give us stuff, but the industrial military complex destroys your life. This man's life is just everything he had was destroyed. How he wasn't magic. So he started making these things, and he was giving them to farmers, and they're all like, "Oh, this is brilliant. Is it working?" Of course it works. It's, so I think it was some guy in the government. I don't know if it was a museum or something. They had a mouse problem, rat problem. And he heard about this guy's device, and he said, "I'm going to give it to you for free. You try this." Some senator or something. I can't remember. Frank, you have to watch it.
Yeah.
Some politician. And he says, "Oh yeah." He says, "Let me know in a week. Here's a couple of them if they work." The guy came flying back. He's like, "Oh my God." He says, "You're going to give me more of these things. They're amazing." So it wasn't that the guy was bad, but word had gotten out of these devices. So a lot of your extraterrestrial devices emit a certain frequency.
Yes.
That the government is looking for. And that's what gets so many people killed, is because if you're tinkering around and then you end up discovering something like over Unity or some kind of, you're actually doing work with some anti-gravity stuff, minor anti-gravity, obviously, because you need a huge energy source for propulsion. But I mean, you're doing something, but it sends off. They have a whole across the entire globe. They have sensors.
Yes, they do. They do. They can feel it. They can sense it. Certain frequencies. They're gonna bing on it.
Yeah,
they're gonna bing on it. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, that's when you get to knock on the door, and they either say, cease and desist, we kill you. There was actually a guy that I can't remember his name, but he's a well-known physicist that was working on some of this stuff. This is recent. And these guys go around to conventions, obviously, and they talk about their experiments and what they're doing and their new inventions and try to get corporations to pick them up. Well, this one guy was talking about his. When he left the convention, the military was there, some of the CIA, I don't know who it was. They put a gun to his head and they said, "The next time you talk about that, we're going to pull the trigger."
And they would.
The guy was
Absolutely.
Like, he didn't expect that, he just finished his talk. He's going to his car and it's like, holy shit, yeah. Yeah.
And well, I mean, it's a shame. I mean, they tried, like we talked about earlier, the upstairs ETs tried to make contact physically, like Valiant Thor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For anybody who wants to know, Valiant Thor is 100% legitimate. He's a real person.
Oh my God. He's my friend.
I've had I know I had an experience, thanks to you, with him. So there's no question in my mind. Energy does not lie, And so if he's standing before you, talking to you, and you still don't listen, I understand why some of them upstairs feel like, what's the point? What's the point? We can walk into the door and talk to them and it makes no difference.
It was because so the whole point is, like, and I tell people this all the time, is that a lot of your Terrans are regressive genetically. They're a regressive race, like a Draco. And
they are.
Their intent. So what Val, when he was represented, when he came here, there were many others besides Val too. They're like, "Look, we're going to help you with a lot of this technology because you guys are, blowing yourself up now." And like, that's not going to be bueno. So they wanted, it's just a different mindset of what you are as a person, really, because it's like, we're going to give you all this stuff. You won't have any hunger. You don't need the fossil fuel, blah, blah, blah. We all know the story. So these people were all like, we don't want that. We want to be the Death Star.
Yeah.
They don't give a crap about, I mean, it was like in one ear, out the other with these guys. So these guys are thinking sustainability. Like, if you're going to have a sustainable civilization, you have to work together. And that's just common sense, but the Terrans are thinking, we want to be an intergalactic, occupier.
Right. They want to conquer.
They want to. Yeah. So they're joining the Draco and the Nebu. And they were the Anunnaki before then, because not because they got tech from them, it's because they wanted to join them to
Mhm.
create an intergalactic war machine.
Yeah. And adding, Terrans who are aggressive to that would be absolutely horrific.
That's what they were
Horrific.
doing. That's what the MK Ultra, the Mylab, they wanted to mind control us to see how if they could push the humans that were telepathic to
Mhm.
be it. That's what Rebecca Rose was used for.
Yes.
Rebecca Rose was used by the dark. That's what they were doing. They were taking children, they were taking people, so many of them, people, using them in the dark fleet.
Mhm. That's where
For
they have all their remote viewers. They have some
yeah,
powerful, powerful remote viewers
yeah.
that are the ones that are finding people with these technologies or these inventions or this information, and that's how they're found. It's
You know,
sad.
the deep state's not just on Earth. They're in space. They're in the Kuiper Belt. They're on different moons.
Yeah.
They're still out there. They're still fighting them out in deep space. These are Terrans.
Yes. Yeah.
People,
Regressive Terrans.
it isn't so much, I think that's where people miss on some of the story, is that because it isn't just like there's a bunch of mean humans that join bad ETs because they want to just rule this planet. No, 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 no. There's a bunch of crazy ass Terrans that want to rule most of the galaxy. This
They
was their
do.
base. It's like,
And they're ignorant enough to think that the reptilians would actually allow that to happen.
yeah, well, the
I mean,
the reptilians owned Earth at one point, but then this was
mhm.
the reptilians were used. They were working with them as colleagues.
Oh yeah.
Because
Oh yeah.
the moon, they had Mars. I mean, they were using these as launch bases for stuff they were working on.
Sometimes I wonder if they still aren't.
They've
You
been
know?
taken, they've been taken, they've been pushed out. They're still around, but they're not here. They were pushed out.
No.
So now,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, it's taken down the see, this is the thing that the Terrans that people see around in the military, that are in the dark military, these guys have amazing. I mean, they can take out ship. I mean, they have scalar weapons.
yes. They have all that they need to just to be the destructive force that the reptilians and all of them, want them to be. I mean, they've been groomed for it, genetically altered for it.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
I mean, we've all, we're all extraterrestrial, honestly. I mean, our DNA is not originating here on Earth. We didn't originate here. Um, it's just, I guess it just depends, how much of each kind, in a family line that you get, depending on where you are going to, where your mindset's going to be, how far, you can raise your frequency, things like that. But, when we went to the moon that one time, apparently they were people or people there that said, don't come back here. Take your rocks, like David Adair said, take your rocks, take your
Yeah,
dust, whatever you want to show, and don't ever come back here, you
yeah.
know? And I mean, I wonder, who were they?
They were Draco. That was Deep State Draco, Nazi.
I mean, scared them enough that we never went back.
They gave them 6 goes. They said you can come back here 6 times, and that's how many missions there were.
Oh, yeah.
The moon was the surveillance base for the dark fleet, the deep state.
Yeah. Perfect place for it, especially
Yeah,
the dark side when nobody can see it.
yeah. Well,
It's crazy how nobody questions that, the moon doesn't never
the
see it.
astronauts saw it. I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
astronauts. And then as they get older and things, most of them even said it. They said, we saw it. Well, they used to have the code name Santa Claus. Like, oh, there's a Santa Claus. That's what they would say.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
They knew.
that's incredible because I'd only have to see a Draco one time and I'd be like, okay, that's good. I won't be back.
Yeah, those guys. Well, that's what NASA was in all these programs. That's what NASA was a bluff.
Ah,
Because I mean, the entire structure here on Earth was already anti-gravity. They were using anti-gravity.
right.
And the United States had made an alliance with the Nazis. They were Nazi. This is Nazi. This is one of the Reichs. I mean, so
Hmm.
NASA, which was run by, Debus, and it was started by all the paperclip, the Nazis.
Yes. Yes.
The whole point of that, and I know this from Frank Chile because he knew all the people, he has firsthand account. And the whole point of NASA was a smoke and mirrors to get everybody looking, look over here. Look at the space race. There's no space race.
No,
That was
there's
all
no.
that was all a theatrical show.
I mean, right, because we've already been to Mars. We've already been to
Right.
Venus. We've been to the moon. We've been to Ganymede.
Yeah.
We're interstellar as it is.
I mean, the thing that really grinds my gears is all these politicians and supposed science people who act like, rocket. I mean, they just they've been up there. Like, come on. Like, they're lying to people.
Well,
And
that's also going to come out.
oh,
So, I mean,
oh,
it's,
I can't wait to make a rocket so we can all go to Mars in 3 years. It's
I
like
know Elon Musk. I want to know what all he knows. He's got to know more.
that
There's
guy,
no
I don't
way.
get that guy. There's something about that guy. I don't like that guy. And I'm just that's a personal opinion. I'm not saying because I know anything. There's just something I can't well, he's lying, number one.
Right, right. Well,
Anybody
he
with a
knows way
rocket
more.
ship is a bullshit artist.
Well, yeah. He wants to colonize Mars. You know, Mars already is colonized,
Yeah,
but I'm
like
just curious.
you're not coming on my planet. Who the hell do you think you are? All these people talking about that just grinds my gears. Like, oh, maybe we'll go to the Centauri and not colonize that. I'm like, fuck you. That's already like you ain't going nowhere. It's like,
Right. People already live there. What are you going to do? Come in and take their planet? You
yeah,
know?
I don't think so. Yes, well, that was the goal. Actually,
Yeah.
that was all their goal. They were going to start launching death attacks on, yeah. So,
Ugh,
but I mean, it's just like, oh, I just like, I can't like my mind just like glitches when I hear stuff like that.
I know. Because it's just I feel like he knows more. You know, I feel like he has some kind of contact somewhere. Just wondering, what is his thought process? Why is he in such a rush to get a colony on Mars? Why is it? I mean, yes, it would be cool, but
There's already Earth people living on Mars. There's tons of Earth people on Mars.
yeah. And I mean, the inhabitants, I believe, are inside, right?
Yeah, they live under
Inside the planet.
biodomes. Some of them, they're like, well, Luis has been to Mars.
Hmm.
I try to avoid Mars, but it's like Luis has been. I've been to Mars in an astral because they were showing me some kind of like Akashic record. It
Yeah.
was like an Akashic record structure. I went with Evan actually, both went together. But yeah, Mars, there's humans, there's insectoids and reptilians and all kinds of
Yeah.
Martian beings. But there's actually transplant human colonies there. They live under biodomes. And
Okay.
they've never a lot of them were told that Earth was destroyed.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. This is all
Wow.
fleet stuff. So a lot of your human Martians were brought there, like all with the 20 and back in Dark Fleet. And
Hmm.
they were all told lies too.
It's crazy.
It's like,
Wow.
yeah.
It goes deep.
Oh, it's freaking, it's nuts. Like, that's why I'm like, you got to stop these people.
Yeah, we can hope. Now, as far as yours, do you remember any of your time when you were on the Pleiades? Was it a hell, right? Do you
Yeah.
remember any of that? Do you have
Yeah.
memories of that?
I remember everything. I remember past lives there. I remember I have future lives there.
That's amazing. Was there ever, and maybe you can help me with this. This is a mystery
Yeah.
I've always had is there a giant, and it almost looks like a coliseum with a lot of steps, almost like a library, but it's like huge. When I say a lot of steps, I mean like a
Yes.
lot of steps. Is
Yes.
there anything like that there? Because that is a recurring place that I'm always going, and I just always going.
that's in the main city area. Yeah.
Okay, because I was curious because I pass by people sitting on the steps
Yeah.
discussing like either what they're going to do, their plans, are they going to come over here, incarnate, whatever. But there's like groups of them, and I can remember walking up the stairs and listening to them all talk. But I mean, it's huge, and
Yeah.
I visit this place a lot. So I just was wondering if that was anything that
Yeah.
you.
It's a holographic archive like library
Okay, that
learning.
makes sense then, because I was like, what is
Very,
this place?
it's
And I
very
have a home there. I have a
yeah.
home there.
Oh yeah. In the city.
And I visit my home, and it's amazing. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely
There's
fantastic.
are you living in the city or are you living out in the country?
I live not in the country. It's more like looks like a neighborhood kind of, but my home is like up. I don't know how to explain it. It's a neighborhood. but not like scrunched together. You know, the homes are just, and it's almost like as you're walking through your home, you can add to it as you go. I know that sounds kind of off,
Yeah,
but
no.
like, I don't know.
You can do
I don't
that.
know, but it's
Yeah, people
beautiful.
have had that happen.
Yeah.
Ships, like on ships, the room is empty, and then
Yeah.
you use frequency to bring out what you want, and then we know that you put it away.
Yeah.
So
So
that
I get to do that there, and
you
I
want
love
it,
that.
you just bring it forward, and
Hmm.
then we don't need it anymore. You just move it to another
Yeah.
dimension.
That's exactly.
See, yeah.
So
People
it's cool.
live
So
in like high rises. Where there's like people live in the city.
yeah.
They live in these massive high rise complexes.
Yeah, mine is just a big home, and
Your
it
house.
feels like a neighborhood, but it almost feels like, because I started dreaming about this home when I was a child, and it almost felt like it was like I was, I don't know, confusing it with like my neighborhood, like almost
Yeah,
like I would try to like go and say like, oh, it should have been there, but it's not there.
it's not there.
It was a whole thing, but I love going there. That's probably my favorite place to go. I
Because
miss it.
we're gonna have people go. We're gonna go on trips back home and just spend some time, relaxing. Yeah, it's the most beautiful place. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
it's our home, so it's. And one other thing that was interesting was my grandfather saw Ika.
really. Wow.
Yeah, because he was always talking about this guy, and we didn't know we were like, there's nobody, here, and it never made any sense to me until just recently. I'm like, he's like, oh, who's that? Who's that guy that lives upstairs? And we're like, my father, We're like, there's no. He's like, no, 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 no. I know who your father is. I know John. I know my friends. He's like, there's the other guy up there. Who's this other guy?
Oh,
It would be like, Dad, there's no other guy, and he's like, there is another guy. So
that's cool.
you can see and you start to realize, and people will look into this with their families, is that you will find out that your family was probably psychic, or what we
Yeah.
call.
Yes.
They put us in those lineages that have that genetic capacity.
Well, yeah, especially if we're here to do specific things, we'd need that.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me. I mean, I know that, my sister at one point could actually see,
Yep.
things that others could not. I know she talks a story about once she was reading a book on the couch, and as she's reading it, she looks up and there it is. I'm not sure what she saw. It was huge. I'm assuming it was not benevolent, but scared her to death. She just froze in there, just stood right there. So glad I wasn't there,
Yeah.
because I probably would have saw it too.
Wow. Oh no,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, I mean, so many kids have that experience.
they do.
And then you
They
just shut
do.
up or you just suppress it and you're like, well, that's not real. I must have, because you're told all this stuff.
There's something that happens at a certain age, I think, where it just seems, because you always hear kids talk about, oh, I can remember my past life. I can remember who I was, or I remember or see this person or this person. It always seems like at a certain age, that's just like,
Yep.
I wonder exactly what they've done to where at that age, it's
Yeah.
just gone. It's weird. I mean, it has to be a programming of some
The
sort.
programming, yeah. I don't remember ever having that because I
No.
always remember like living in my own like a realm, and
Yeah, I do.
being able to read. I never I never fell for that.
Hmm.
So I was born, I was always atheist.
Yeah.
Believed in any religion ever. Even as a little kid, I never believed it. So there's just it was just weird stuff that. And then I get into ghosts and I love ghosts and all that. I think I think we're always leaning towards there's something deep inside us that's like, remember this, remember this.
Yes. Yes. Anything that's paranormal,
Yeah.
or anything that we can investigate, or there are times where it just clicks with me. I'm like, oh, it's not necessarily they're ghosts, they're just in a different dimension, and we just can't fully see them. They look like, whatever. Sometimes we can't. Sometimes that's something that we can do, which I think is phenomenal.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just, and I don't know if for you, but when you were a kid, like I used to watch my father some of the space movies as a kid. Did that seem like real to you? Like you knew it was a movie, but it was like you knew there was
V, V, yes,
V.
absolutely. Yes, because I think that was real. I think that is
That's real. It
real.
was real. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that is Star Wars really, watching that series, that, for me, a lot of that just made sense.
Yeah.
Just made sense. Like, oh, okay, yeah, why not? But yeah, I mean, I think it's just, a mix of memories, a mix of just because I think at this time, a lot of the star seeds or the walk, all of them, a lot of our memories are coming back.
Yeah.
And there's a purpose for it, but a lot of it is. And
Yeah.
so, but it makes it really hard to live
Oh
on,
God.
on this planet.
I haven't broke the code of that yet. I mean, it's just like, oh my God. I just use a lot of like quiet time. That's all I can do.
That's really, and I just continue to search and learn and research and, you know, do what I can do and enjoy as much as I can enjoy my life with my children and my husband. And,
Yeah.
that's another kind of a weird component. We
You're
were
like,
talking
you
about
know,
that, but I wonder how that's going to work out.
which one? I know that which one. And that's a lot of people are worried about that, but it's like, it's going to be up to you eventually. And it's you were
Mhm.
expected to have a, you know,
Yeah. I mean, I would have had to have had, that would have been, that was an awkward conversation.
well,
I'm
it's,
going to go down here.
they pull back for most of us at some point because it's like you have to be able to survive here. So
Hmm.
you have to get into the matrix to some level. And,
Yes.
and it's new. You've already discussed that. It's already been known that, you would have a significant other, here on Earth.
Mhm.
You had to
Yes.
go, and that's your spy costume, right? You had to go in undercover.
Mhm.
They knew that, and they don't have the same. Depends on the cultures and persons, but they don't have the same thought about monogamy up there that we have here. Because again, that's
Right.
different. The idea of
That's more of a soul connection,
yeah, yeah.
upstairs, you know?
Now Ika is different. I mean, it depends on the person. Now Ika
Yeah.
is different. Like he says you only get one, and it is you. So I never was allowed a man on Earth.
Well, hey. And I
So
guess that's something you were okay. You were like, that's fine with me.
there was something in my body that repelled it. I felt
Right.
it, and now it makes perfect sense. Like, well, I was already married, so I mean, obviously it was like, well, they told me because I was always looking for this man. They said, you will find this man, you will find this man. And
Yeah.
they told him, and I'm just a little kid. I'm like, oh, okay. He seems very nice and everything. And they're like, no, you will find, so I, even as like growing up, I was always like looking for this blonde man.
Yeah.
But that
I know
makes
exactly what you're talking
your
about.
rational mind, you're like, what? How the hell? I'm crazy. I just, there's something, I live in a fantasy world, you just make up these stories like I gotta be
Hmm.
nuts. And then you try, like I did try dating, but it's just I never could do it more than a week. It
Yeah.
just,
Wow.
and then he came, when he finally, I call it the Reconquista, but when we originally like, came back together again, it was, oh,
Made
that's
all
all
sense.
that was about it. That's like, you know,
Well, yeah. I mean, your contract here, whatever purpose you had here, that
contract.
just wasn't included in it. Well, then that's fine. Yeah. Um, I love being a mom, so I can understand why, I would want to do that because that's just
Yeah.
probably the greatest thing ever is having little ones. But I can tell you that my guy isn't really thrilled. I mean, he wasn't overly jealous or he
Right.
wasn't, ugly, but he also was kind of like, come here, we're gonna talk about this, but he knew about it. But I'm just saying, I could tell that he wasn't just like, oh, okay. You know? So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that happens.
Yeah, that one guy did tell me this. He was like an Alpha Centauri, a
Hmm.
younger man, and I was talking to his girlfriend. I don't think they're married yet because they're very young. And
Hmm.
she saw the ship. She saw the ship.
Hmm.
People, you can see some people. I'm not talking a little dot. I mean a vehicle
Yeah.
ship. So,
Yes.
and then all of a sudden, boom! I'm like, oh wait, I'm talking. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm on that ship.
Ah.
I said, there's people on the ship. I said, they look like Alpha Centauri, Tau Ceti. I can't, the vibes are the same.
Hmm.
And then I'm like, there was a woman, and she like not we like I'm like, hey, and I'm like, she left, and the man sat down. The young man sat down. I said, oh, okay. And he knew he was kind of sheepish a little bit, and then he started, talking to me, and I said, oh, I said, well, wait a minute. I said, let me introduce myself. I just jumped onto your ship. I said,
Yeah.
I'm like a stupid, I hell ditzy.
Yeah.
I'm like, can I? He's like, no. He's laughing. I'm like, I'm sorry, I just barged in. They're like, no, no, we wanted this, and then we had the conversation, and it was like, that's your boyfriend. And
Hmm.
the young lady was like, she said, what does he look like? And I described what he looked like, and she said, I always remember seeing a man like that.
And you do. I was always looking for that particular
Yep,
person,
yep,
trying to find the people that kind of looked like him. I mean, I think it was just, in my
yes,
mind,
yeah,
you look
yeah,
for that, you have that type, So yeah, I
yeah.
get that for sure, for
And I think
sure.
and that's why it wasn't going to happen for me. It's like, where am I going to find Ika on Earth?
You're not.
I
We
mean,
don't ever find them
I'd
really
have to
on
get
Earth.
a modeling agency. You know what I mean? There's no. I mean, the chances of finding that are like so. That's what struck me as all you start trying to make sense out of this stuff. But all of these guys are everyone I've ever telepathed for with someone is they're very beautiful.
They
And
are.
it's this, and then this guy just started revealing information that sounded like nonsense to me, but to her was 100%.
Yeah, it resonated with her, and she's realizing that, oh, hey, what I thought was my imagination is not,
Yes.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
still trying to find, my guy's a little bit different looking than Ika. I mean, he's definitely human. Well, they
I
all
know
look a little
what
bit
he is.
different.
I've met that type. They're very big. They're built.
They're big, very muscular, but he,
Big black, that brown, black hair, thick. I've seen them. Yeah.
and I mean, Pleiadian maybe something different.
Almost. So we're all from the Lyra, all the humanoids.
Hmm.
That when Lyra had the shit show, and you know, we're all basically from that same humanoid. And then it's like anything you move off and you start to change the way you look a little bit. But a lot of the Hell Pleiadian kind of spotted around different places.
Hmm.
He's not a Hell, but
Right. No.
there is a type of Pleiadian that's like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Did he ever tell you where he's from? Like what planet he's from?
He never did tell me what planet he was from. I know that he was supposed to have been on a mission when he came in and swooped in really quick. Like he was on his way to do something and he kind of diverted. And I
Yeah.
don't know what caused him to divert. I was pregnant with my third child at the time. And he came in and then we kind of walked away because we were outside my house. This is crazy. We were like outside my house. I was in the astral, but I think I was in the astral, but we were outside my house. It felt, and the astral feels physical, feels real.
You could have
And
by
he
location
just,
too. There's also by location. So it could be.
yeah, and he just kind of swooped me up in his arms and he put his hand, I'll never forget, he put his big hand on my stomach. He goes, I bet you love it already. I'll never forget that. And I said, I do. And he goes, well, then I love it too. But he's very handsome,
Yeah.
very chiseled, but this part is a little bit different. Like
It's
this part.
broad, like more broad, like higher.
Yeah. And like a little bit
Noticed-
more
I've seen them
ridge,
before. They have
a little bit
a weird, not weird, but it's
different.
yeah, it's different. Yeah.
Yes. And so like he could not walk the earth. I mean, though I look at him and like he looks human
Yeah.
enough, but there's no way he could walk and be like
Right. People would know.
or 8 feet tall. That doesn't help.
Yeah. 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 They do have a different forehead, a higher forehead. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're human enough, but they couldn't pass as Terran. No.
Yeah. Well, just the size alone would be, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Ika might like a supermodel Terran.
Yeah. Yeah, he passed. He can pass. He did die
I
in
don't know. Ika's eyes are a little different though, aren't they?
why he put
Like
on,
if you were to look at him,
yeah,
like a little bit
yeah, they have crazy eyes. I mean, I think it would pass though, you know.
hmm
I mean,
Well,
I think
people have contacts now, so
more
he could.
height. Is more his height that's kind of shocking. And of course,
That's what gives it away. Their height,
yeah, he's like 6.
because yeah, I mean, human. Yeah, most Terrans don't
He's
get
not
that big.
huge, then they go, I mean, Pleiadians go more than that, but
Oh yeah,
it's just the way they look is kind of like, it looks like
I
a
know.
star. It's just, you don't see people like that.
No, 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 no. I
It's
mean, if I saw, yeah, yeah, the Terran men wouldn't have a chance.
I see him I mean, because we spend a lot of the day together when he's free. Like I can see him. Like I can feel it. I can
Yes.
see him. And it's like, yeah, he could pass. I mean, he would, have to just kind of, they change the way they wear their clothes. I mean, most of them cut their hair because that's kind of
Yeah.
the thing. You see a man with long hair, it's kind of odd here on here. So
Right.
they cut their hair. I told them, don't you ever cut your hair. You get nothing if you cut your, because I do not like short hair on a man. That's a 0 for me. So he
I
knows.
like the long hair too.
I don't know if he has or not because he could, project himself as having long hair, but because the other guys I would work with in the military, most they all cut their hair short.
Just so they can blend in more.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
maybe it won't get in the way, especially if they're on missions that,
yeah, they
I
still
don't
wear
know.
long hair upstairs in the military, in the missions as well. So, but here I think it's more to blend in with the rest of the. So, I had a couple of pictures of Denethor. I can't find, I have one I found, but I had another one and I can't find it. But he's got the military cut. But you can see
Yeah.
it's like it's there. Like as my aunt would always say, they're real blondes. It's so fine,
Yes.
almost like baby hair, but it's like thick, thick, fine. And you can see it in the picture. The guy looks, a little different. He totally would pass, but I mean, you would not notice. But
I mean, I wonder if the Venusians are they the same kind of human we are? Because
yeah, I mean,
that picture of Val Thor. I mean, nobody would have thought anything
oh,
of
not at
it.
all. No, he's tall. He's a
I
tall
didn't.
Canadian. His wife is Syrian, Ashkero
Oh,
Syrian. I've met her. Yeah, she'd pass too. I mean, the Venusians are a mix. Like Frank is tall. He's a tall Pleiadian.
yeah,
It seems like there's a lot of tall there. I don't know. I'd have, the only time I've ever been to Venus was to meet with Val, and I only was at his house, so I don't remember.
yeah.
Well, that's when I met Jillian. I never met Don. Like a lot of people have met, not only Don, but I mean, Val and his crew and his gang, they're like driving around.
They're very close. I mean,
Very-
when you and I spoke that one time, you said, I'll put a word in for you. It was almost like that I was able
Yeah,
to meet, and I was like, oh wow, oh, is he not the coolest?
he's
Laid back,
he's
isn't
very,
it?
got
I
that
mean,
little
he's
boy,
just
that little boy.
yes, just very laid back, cool. I
Oh,
thought it was cool.
well,
Huh?
he used to go to, I mean, they would just hang out at people's houses, like physically here. They do
No,
that.
I believe it.
Like people have met Val at conferences and when Frank Strangers used to go around. I know there's a lot of people who think Frank Strangers is full of shit, and that's not true. Frank Strangers was friends with Val.
Oh yeah,
Some of
I
the stuff
believe that 100%.
is just the time period. You got to understand, as a guy from back in the day. He was
Hmm.
a religious person, and some of the stuff, the way he processed information, would have been through that lens. So you
Yeah.
can't condemn people. Same thing with Billy Meyer, and I keep telling Semyasi this. I'm like, dude, give him a break. She gets so frustrated with him, and it's like, think about what this guy went through. Think about the time
Right.
period. I mean, you blew his mind.
Right, because he doesn't have those, memories.
She's Pleiadian women are feisty, so Semyasi is just kind of like, oh, I don't. He should. I'm never. And so I was like, no, but think about this. You can't. I'm like,
Right.
explained it to him, and I told him, and he didn't get it. I'm like, you landed the spaceship in his field.
I know what's it gonna do.
It's like the guy never saw that he don't. Anyway, all right, it's just like you can't get it. So, but
Yeah, but
yeah, but
it's just neat.
Don loves convertibles.
Oh, really?
They love our cars. They love
Yeah.
cars. So yeah, he
Yeah.
drives around California. They like 1950s clothes too. They like that style.
Yeah. And I wonder if that's because that's when most of them arrived or what was going on when they got
Yeah,
here.
I mean, it just something Venusians kind of liked. It was, it's slick, I guess. They like to be I don't know how to describe it. I mean, I guess it would be the fashionable.
Right.
They like
Right.
to have a little bit of, they do have that little, you know, you know.
Oh, I could definitely tell. It was
They
very
do.
cool.
Yeah, well, they told me and Ivan, my friend Ivan Ilda, that they screamed at us. They're like, you got to start dressing like fashionable. I'm like, no, you,
Why? Because they want you to look more Pleiadian?
well, they want you to catch attention.
Oh,
They want us to come forward. They want us to be attention getting.
right.
That's the last thing any starseed wants. So in some ways, the whole mission kind of like backfired a little bit because they're going to be like, you're going to go there. You're going to be like big. You're going to look a certain way and you're going to walk around and be like, you do your thing. And then we get here, we're all like, fuck, this
Right.
sucks.
No, we're good. We're good.
I hate it. I want to go home. I hate it. And they're like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to hide in my basement. And they're like, Jesus. Well, I mean, I think
Well,
that's really,
well, the clothing isn't the same, or the style isn't the same. I told you,
oh,
the memory I have about, the way the dress was more of like, the only way I could describe it is like a medieval, but
yeah.
not medieval, but, kind of like
Yep.
with the,
Yeah.
the flow. And it was just a whole different feel, a whole different vibe.
It's very feminine.
Very, very.
Like the men have their clothes, and it's just like I know Ika will come to me wearing some clothes from home sometimes to be like, do you like me?
Yes.
Yeah, they're showing off their their peacock, like any male animal does. If you think about male animals, that's what they do.
Yeah.
You know, they're beautiful like a bird, and they show themselves off to their female, like you like this, and it's like I like this, and it's like he's not into women's clothes, he's into women's bodies. But when you put the clothes on the woman, then he's like, it's like he likes, the mystery behind all the, so then he likes it. But yeah, no, we definitely have it's not an ego thing, it's just experiencing your body and the shape of your
Mhm.
body and your sexuality and what you are,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah, because
That's something that was crushed here. That's not something that's allowed here,
I know,
and
I
it's
know.
too bad. I mean, like people aren't even living. They don't live. They're not living their lives. It's so sad.
I know. I was thinking the other day, I go to work, I come home,
Yeah.
you know, do what I need to do, go to bed, get
Yeah.
up, do it again, do it again. And it's because, I'm chained to this system of I have to make money to live in a house so
Yeah.
that my kids can have food. And it's just kind of,
People
we're,
get up.
well, that, and we're not able to grow. I mean, we're not able
Oh,
to, like they said, that's why our lifespans are so short here
well, it's all
because
on
they want to
purpose.
get you before you can
Wake up.
evolve. Yeah.
Well, that's the whole
So,
point is to work everybody to death since they're kids.
mhm.
So, it's filling you with stupid homework and all that. And it's anything to like make you mad, upset, make you stressed. Like, when you're like a little kid, and you had to go to school and like it was all about keeping that constant like sadness
Yeah.
in your body. And every
Yeah.
once in a while you get a little bit of, happiness. Oh, here's a little vacation. Oh, here's a little bit of that. And then back to the old. And people are working 50 jobs just to try to even survive now. They're living
Hmm.
in a constant state of depression. How can you not? You're just living
Right.
in a state of like hand to mouth.
You're just living to work and
That's
and
it.
survive. Right.
Yeah.
Unless you have, millions and millions of dollars, which most of us don't. But I mean, if you're not part of that group, then that's your life.
Weird thing is, if you look at people in that group, they're all miserable.
Well, yeah.
You're
Yeah.
like,
I
how
mean,
many millions do you need? How many billions do you need to just
right.
either do something good for society? They don't. They always spend it on themselves. They either hoard
Hmm.
it. Not everybody, obviously, but I mean, if you think about that, if everybody who has a lot of money was actually doing stuff, society wouldn't look like it looks like.
No, we have the ability to eradicate world hunger with
We do.
like just three or four of these uber wealthy people will just don't even have to give all of their money. Just give a portion. It would
Yeah.
be done. I don't understand. Well, you know,
No, because most of them are working for the deep state.
yeah, yeah.
Most of them are working.
And a lot of them are falling from grace. I mean, I used to love Oprah.
Oh yeah.
Used to.
I,
Now I
I
have a,
you know I think a lot of the celebrities were forced into those. They were mind controlled, and then they just got slippery slope, slippery slope, slippery slope. I think a lot of them were regular people. Now there's always a few people that are psychopaths. That's always there, but I think a lot of them because they are all mind controlled,
yeah.
totally under mind control. They got chips. I mean, they've been chipped up and everything, and it's like they literally don't think for themselves, and they're used as Oprah was used as an operative.
Really. I mean, she's got a lot of influence.
Well, that's the point. They're used as operatives to assist the deep state in the different things they were doing.
It makes me kind of sad to think about, the kids in her school that
I guess that's why they have schools and stuff like that.
in Africa, where did
Oh,
they?
they were, yeah.
Yeah, we know. That's why I'm kind of like,
So
guess you have to pay the piper. I don't know.
Mexico, Africa, Asia, Southeast Asia, that was the main meat trade.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
I don't mean sex, I mean meat trade.
No, I know. I
I also
know.
mean sex, but meat.
Both.
Yeah.
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 It's horrific. And
Oh,
a lot of people think that they stage these disasters like the California fires or giant earthquakes, and they go to those areas in this guise of, hey, let me help you, come here, come with us, we've got you,
right.
and they're gone. They're gone.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
another reason why I want to homeschool my kids.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
want to.
Well, they were pulling them out of school. I mean, Zoe, everybody, most of our viewers who are in this stuff, and you were pulled out of school. It's a
Oh, I
regular school
was.
day, and you'd be pulled out of school and sent off to these my labs, and then the bus would come pick you up and take you home again. Those maglev train systems that are all over the.
Yeah,
You're at school in say upstate New York. All of a sudden you're in California, and then you're back in upstate New York, and you're on the bus going home after they've injected you with God knows what. And yeah.
man, I could just remember them pulling a few out of school just to do some like testing with cards. You know what I mean? I can remember having that experience.
They weren't
Like,
testing with cards.
yeah. So I had that experience. I don't remember being, taken anywhere, but I remember that
Yeah, we had.
elementary school.
There was up in a North Shore community. A guy just remembered when he was a teenager. He says, "You know what?" He says there were CIA operatives that were feeding LSD to like the street kids. There's always the kids that come from rough families and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
They target them
Oh,
because
yeah.
there's no obviously. And he says they were feeding them like all these drugs and watching them. And he says I never did it, but I saw what they were doing.
That's awful. To what end?
That's what people all over the country are going to start. They're going to start remembering now. They're like, oh my God, wait a minute. I saw this happen with my friends. This is why I said we are the disclosure.
Mm-hmm.
We are the
Yeah,
ones that we were there. We saw this stuff in real time.
we did. I just want the rest of my memories back from when, but maybe that'll come when
Yeah,
it's supposed
if
to.
your brain is like cracked, like it's not, you don't have full up, you don't have your full. That'll happen once they're pulling up. People have noticed a lot of changes. They feel a lot better because they've been
Mhm.
breaking down all of the weird frequency stuff that they've kind of been, sending that
Right.
to us. Like I haven't had any massive depressive episodes that the MK Ultra people were giving me. But everybody feels
Mm-hmm.
a lot lighter. People also notice that family or friends who were like narcissistic or jerks or just odd suddenly are like, I'm a nice person. They're like, they've noticed that.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they do say like the Schumann resonance, the frequencies are moving quickly.
They're doing
I heard that they won't even let us see what the Schumann resonance is at this point.
really.
Mhm. I was watching the show where they were talking about they weren't able to get the information of what the current Schumann resonance was,
Really
but
out
that
of
it was so much higher, than it had been previously. But for whatever reason, it's not as accessible. So watching that, I was like,
yeah,
that's interesting.
everything is excuse me, everything is a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
It's just so ridiculous. I'm so sick of that. I'm so sick of all the lies. Treating us like idiots. Oh, don't show
Yeah.
them the real stuff, show them this, and we're
Yeah.
all gullible and it's not our fault. I mean, and we're buying
That's
it,
all we
but
know.
I guess, it's like, yeah.
I mean, that's all people knew. That's their existence.
All you know,
That's
right.
what they
All we
know.
get is but right.
You
It's like
know,
we have to keep eating poison food because you got to eat something, and what are you going to do? Like,
I know that's what kills me the most. And I even buy like the vegetable wash and scrub and stuff, but then I think it's probably inside the food,
don't
not
don't
just
don't buy that.
no. Is that even worse?
I can't say too much here, but the scrubby veggie stuff, no.
Oh, great. They're going to get us any way they can.
Yeah, it's like,
Just eat the wax and be happy. It's better than getting the chemicals or whatever.
yeah. So, try to get the organic, whatever that means, we don't
I
even
don't even believe. I don't
know.
believe in organic anymore. I don't think they're real. I think they say they are.
Everything's in the air. It's in the water. I mean, it's like
It's awful. It is absolutely awful.
that's it. It's
That's why
like
I don't.
they poison us with the food. They spray us with shit. They put it in the water. I mean, it's like,
It, there's no escaping it.
well, Bill Tompkins, I actually got a picture of a Draco craft. The long tube. Not all long tube craft are Draco. Some are Pleiadian. I think some are ours now. I know, but the Draco had these, and there's a different end to them. Like I think they're square. I can't remember, but they got a picture of them. They're flying them over California. They forgot to cloak, or the cloaking mechanism didn't work. Maybe, I don't know, with the camera or something, but they were flying over California and spraying stuff to make you stupid.
I believe it.
Mm.
100% I believe it.
Yeah. I can get the photo up sometime and put in a short or something, but yeah, it's from Will Tompkins.
And it goes deep.
Oh,
It goes deep.
oh God. Well, I'd love to have you back on again, Joanna. Maybe, and of course
Absolutely.
your mission is to get some more video for us of the ships.
Okay, I'm gonna work on that. They're supposed to be showing up where we can see them better. So,
That's your
oh,
job, And then of
yeah,
course the peak always says just be careful, be safe, make sure it's, get the footage.
yeah,
If it feels fishy, get out of there, but so
yeah, absolutely. Well, I will do that for sure, and I can't wait to share it with you.
wait to see him. We can't wait.
Okay,
Oh my God. Well, thank you so much for coming forward today and sharing.
absolutely.
And
Thank you for asking.
well, I'm begging people,
Yeah,
I'm begging, like, come on, you gotta come on. And yeah, so as always, I always tell everybody, joy and abundance, and let's just rip this band-aid off and get the hell going.
let's do it.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. And anybody has any info, whatever, share it with us. Come on, or put it in the comments or something, and
Absolutely.
look it up and see what we can do, Let's see where we
Okay.
go. All right, well,
Have a
have
good time.
a good rest of your day.
You too.
All right,
I'll
cheers.
see you soon. Okay.